Kia ora, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to the Esri Technology ArcGIS Field App Stream session for this afternoon. In today's session, we will be diving into the key features and the latest advancements of ArcGIS FieldMaps, ArcGIS Servo 123, and ArcGIS QuickCapture. You will discover how these apps can enhance situational awareness, improve collaboration and data quality, as well as streamline your workflows while seamlessly integrating your web and daily applications. So for this session, we'll be utilising Slido, which I'm sure you're very much aware of by now. This will be for both the polls as well as the Q&A. If you've got questions throughout the session, just pop them into the Slido, and we will aim to answer these at the end of the session. So there should be a QR code popping up shortly, which you can use to gain access to the session, and just make sure you're using the Esri Technology Field Apps session and not a different one. So with that, I'm going to hand over to our lovely Ed and Carol, who will be presenting the session for today. You might have seen Ed out on the dance floor last night, and if you have, I'm sure you're very awake this morning also. Cool. Off to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you for that personalised introduction. That's superb. So yeah, just a little bit of a lay of the land of what we'll be covering over the next 75 minutes. A little bit of an overview to field operations as a whole, so you're aware of sort of the context that these applications sit within, and maybe get you thinking about additional workflows that, although you're already using a lot of the field apps already, what other things could you be doing wider with them, things like situational awareness, planning and design. And then we'll go into some of the key patterns of use that we've seen these applications used for. And then the thing that I'm sure you've all been waiting for, a what's new update across each of the applications. So starting with FieldMaps, then going to Servo 123, then QuickCapture. And then we'll have a bit of a discussion and a conversation piece around extending these field app workflows. So it isn't just about the tools in the pocket, where does the data and content go from there? And so something that we just want to always get a gauge of, I'm just going to open up this view on screen here, is just understanding the current use of field apps in your organisation and whether you're using them or not. Do we have a room full of professionals who are already out there using the tools, or do we have some who have come along to the session after establishing their foundation of GIS and looking to get into the space more? So I'd love to get just a few more responses to this poll before we close it off, just to understand who we've got in the room this morning. So we'll give you sort of 20 or 30 seconds just to fill that out. So it seems to be an overwhelmingly strong. Oh, good. We've got a no. Thank you for your honesty. Oh, it's creeping up. Awesome. Thank you. So we'll just switch back now. Thank you for your input. And we're just going to run through a little bit of an overview. So field operations is a pretty big area, which I think every sector that uses GIS has some form of workflow that requires being out on site, outside the office, and needing these tools to help capture, modify, or just view information that's out there. So things like vegetation management, you might be capturing something a little bit more complex than just a point. You might be getting into maybe the drone space as well alongside your vector data. Census, looking at construction inspections, emergency management. We're all using field operations capabilities in some way, shape or form, but ultimately using the same underlying components to enable our workflows. So ArcGIS as a whole supports field operations in 4 key ways, but I guess the key thing is it's supporting these field operations from the same authoritative geospatial content that's been used for other patterns of use across your organisation. So starting with the planning and coordinating of field work, an area that piece of how do we be the most efficient and effective as possible and what we're capturing or sending people out to do, really to optimise the operations, but also communicate higher up the food chain or maybe across the organisation the progress on our task. Going into the awareness piece, not sending people out blind, actually using the same geospatial content that we use and capture and modify and maintain to actually aid the health and safety of where we're sending people, having a really rich map showing them their area that they're operating. And then the piece that we do often focus the most on in these sessions, but also wider as a whole in these conferences, the capture element of field operations. So whether that's using an easy-to-use interface, a rapid button interface, a form-centric interface, there's different capture experiences to create, edit, and delete data out in the field, depending on what your needs are as your end user out in the field. But then also understanding that these capabilities are all integrated. They're not just being written to a black box somewhere. ArcGIS is an open system, so therefore we can share content wider across our online or enterprise environments, or even integrate these with different systems, such as if I capture this specific thing, if it meets this business logic criteria, what other systems can I then send it to? So really kickstarting a process or acting on a process that's come from an external system. And I guess that reaches some of those key patterns of use, which we'll do a little bit more of a deep dive on. So planning and coordinating, what does this look like when we look at the nuts and bolts of it? Well, in the office, for all of the field apps, there's a web administration view, if you like, creating the experience that's going to be loaded onto the device that our end users are using in the field. So whether that's preparing the maps that sit inside all of the field applications, whether that's creating those forms or specific groups, making sure it's accessible by those who need to see it, giving them the ability to visualize, analyze, and prioritize the work that's being sent to them. So this is really this interaction between the GIS analyst, maybe your operations manager, but then critically your mobile worker who could be connected or disconnected depending on the workflow. So in the field, the planning and coordinating piece, really that's that spatial to-do list, completing those prioritised work requests that have come through to them, and being able to communicate status back to complement maybe a phone call or a text message by showing the data, giving evidence of what they've been doing out there in the field. So the next one is awareness, and this is just empowering your teams, your organisation, no matter where they go, with up-to-date data, so the content piece, but also the technology, the tools, that allows them to make the best decision possible when they're on site. So we're really fortunate to be able to just pick up and leverage and reuse content that we're using for other workflows, using different tools across ArcGIS, such as the rich interactive maps that we're authoring, even 3D. We're not covering ArcGIS Earth today, but I'd invite you to have a play, have a look at that 3D in your pocket that you can take wherever you need maybe a more terrain-based view of where you're going. Geofencing and alerts is another one too. So based on my location as a field worker, can I set up areas to almost trigger a notification both to me in the field, but also to the back office that I've entered a specific area. So thinking around that. So that status piece and being able to inform what you're up to, where you're at, how far you are through a task, and that's one of the patterns of use that we see. Some users deploy the field operations suite for, just being able to view where my people are, where's my stuff, being able to then use that content to respond to an evolving situation, such as I know where my people are, maybe we have a Met Service weather warning coming over that area, maybe we've received word of something happening in a specific forestry plantation that we need to then understand who's there. So by already having people out there in the field, having that really rich baseline of where our people are at and what they're up to, allows us to respond more effectively. And that's even before we get into the capture piece, which, given our 92.8% of users or people who have responded to the poll being existing field app users, you'll know all about this. And as we saw in the Day 2 plenary, it doesn't matter where you're above ground, on the ground, or in the ocean, being able to use the same technology and tools to capture, edit, modify information is really, really neat. Whether that's transforming a paper-based form that's been used for years, that you want to then turn into a digital medium, being able to write that information as soon as it's captured back to your system of record. Really, this is what the capture piece is all about, and being flexible in that interface you're providing the users who are inputting that information to make it as easy as possible for them to capture really accurate information. So then integration, which through the likes of Power Automate, that Survey 123 connector that's now become the ArcGIS connector, And that's just one example of different ways that you can be capturing information from a mobile device. Of course, sending it to that dashboard or that web application that you have, but then also sending that information simultaneously to whatever enterprise system it needs to end up in. So whether that takes the shape of the data itself, individual record entries, whether that's actually generating a report every time a piece of information is filled out that then is stored in an information management system somewhere. Really just think about integration, if you're not already, as something that is low effort, low cost, comparative to having to stand up something a little bit more complicated. So as a whole, ArcGIS supports field operations. These are probably the applications that you're using, and or these are the applications that are available to enable you to do that. FieldMaps, map-centric interface, Survey 123, form-centric, and then QuickCapture, rapid collection. So all of these are available both online and offline. So for the end user, if they go out of coverage and they don't have internet access, they are able to use these to continue to capture information. So let's deep dive on one of these now, and I'm going to hand over to Carol to talk around FieldMaps.
Thank you, Ed. So now I'm going to talk about FieldMaps along with the newest capabilities. FieldMaps is a flexible mobile app solution designed to support a wide range of field workflows. By leveraging the power of maps, FieldMaps can really enhance situational awareness, streamlines data capture, either in both simple or advanced, and tracks and shares the locations of mobile workers, all within a single location-aware app. So the solution has two key components, as shown in the slide. There's a FieldMaps designer and the FieldMaps mobile app. We use the designer to configure the mobile app. And this structure mirrors the approach of many other ArcGIS apps. In the FieldMaps designer, you can create maps, build data collection forms, enable offline map use, set up geofences, or even configure the settings that prepare the maps for fieldwork. And in the mobile app, workers can access the maps, forms, and tools they need to perform the tasks. Whether online or offline, outdoors or indoors, FieldMaps can provide the flexibility required to keep field operations running smoothly. So this is the typical workflow cycle within FieldMaps. First, you will need to prepare your maps using the FieldMaps designer. This includes building the forms that I've mentioned before for data collection and setting up geofences, enabling the maps for offline use and such. And then once that's ready, the field workers can use the FieldMaps mobile app to do some advanced map interaction. Users can explore and interact with the maps by toggling layers, applying filters, searching for specific assets or locations of interest. Additional tools like compass, distance, and area measurements are also available. And the markup tool lets users draw directly on maps with annotations, arrows, and shapes. So these markups can also be shared as layers within the organization or as a file through email or text messages. Then once they've finished interacting with the maps, they can capture their data seamlessly. So this is where field workers can collect data and conduct inspection through forms created in the FieldMaps designer. New point, line, or polygon features can be added to the map, and data can be updated or appended to related tables for workflows, like inspections. Various tools are available, like snapping, streaming, and copying existing features. For high-accuracy data collection projects, FieldMaps can also be integrated with GNSS receivers, ensuring accurate location data and additional GPS metadata. So whether using the built-in GPS or external receivers, updates can be automatically reflected across connected maps or even apps. Lastly, integration with broader workflows or systems. Ed has mentioned this a little bit beforehand. FieldMaps can be integrated seamlessly with the other ArcGIS apps and can be automated using tools like Microsoft Power Automate. And we have a specific section for this later, and we'll talk about this in more detail. So I'm going to jump into a pre-recorded demo that covers what's new in field maps.
We found it's a little bit more exciting when we're actually somewhere else than in a convention center for these demos.
So this is the Field Maps Designer, where we can configure field maps for field operations. Field maps, on the maps page here, you are provided usually with a list of many available maps that you can configure. But with the June 2024 update, you can now view maps by the folder you placed them in. And this helps you to keep everything organized, especially when managing multiple maps across different projects. Give me a sec while the video is loading.
So do we have anyone in the audience who's still using Collector for any of their workflows? No? Awesome. So one of the things that we won't be talking about in this section just up front is we won't be going into tasks. If you are interested in tasks, that's going to be road ahead. So I just want to set the scene there for what we'll be covering in this field map section. We'll move on and maybe come back to this specific one in a second.
Yep. So what is showing on screen? Cool. So yeah, the video just loaded now. I'm just going to repeat what I said. So on the maps page, you are provided usually with many maps that you can configure, right? But with the June 2024 update release, you can select a specific folder that you want to open, and then it will just show the maps that are included in that folder. So once you open a map by default, you will land on the forms page, where you will find all the content associated with your map. And here you can build forms and configure feature templates that your mobile workers can use for data collection. On the Forms tab, you can create custom forms using various form elements, making the data collection process seamless and intuitive for the field workers. So I'm going to break it down. So we've got some basic elements, include fields like barcode, date or time, number, and text inputs. And we've also got choice elements, which lets you create lists of values for mobile workers to select from. And this is great for standardizing input options, like a list of inspection statuses or equipment types. And we've got also group elements. This allows you to organize the form into sections, which can be useful for segmenting different parts of the data collection workflow. And as you may have noticed, there's a new capability there. It's called Info Form Element. Info Form Element provides read-only text box for field workers, so it can provide additional information like instructions, guidelines, and the info form element can be formatted in a variety of ways. You can add some headings, bold, italics, numbered lists, and external link to extra sources. To further enhance the form, you can configure the fields with additional attributes, placeholder and description, and also arcade expressions to either control the field visibility or perform auto calculations. So here I'm showing you an example of auto calculations, just a simple point to polygon calculation that auto populates suburb data when I put a point in the Field Maps mobile apps. And now I want to quickly show geofence. While geofences aren't the newest capability in field maps, but they are still incredibly useful and popular. A geofence is a defined area on a map that can trigger alerts or enable location sharing when a mobile worker enters or exits the area in the Field Maps mobile app. You can now also incorporate arcade expressions into geofences, making them dynamic depending on the attributes of a location. So I'm going to jump into what's new in FieldMaps Designer. FieldMaps has always supported offline maps, but over the last 3 releases, we've added new validation checks in the FieldMaps Designer. And these checks highlight errors or warning issues that might prevent your map from being taken offline. Now with the June 2024 release, Esri has added additional validation checks, and they are accessible from 2 places. So not only in the FieldMaps Designer, where most of you already work on, but also from the web map item details page. So providing another way to ensure that your map is fully ready to be taken offline. Another new feature in FieldMaps is allowing you to open Map Viewer directly from the FieldMaps Designer. When configuring a map, there are times when you may need to make edits in the Map Viewer that go beyond the available options in the Designer. Previously, you could only access Map Viewer from the Overview page, which made it harder to maintain consistency. Now, Map Viewer is accessible directly from the Actions bar, making it easier to switch between Designer app and the Map Viewer without causing syncing issues. Now onto the mobile app here. I have a video of me trying to collect a new related record. So the first new feature is the info element, which allows you to provide supplemental information or instructions while users are editing forms. So here you can see that I have formatted the text in different ways, including headings, bulleted lists, and I can also link the text to external sources if I want to. One of the most powerful features of this info element is that I can add a visibility expression, which allows me to conditionally show or hide the info element depending on other form inputs. Another great update within the FieldMaps mobile app is for those of you who are collecting linear features. Which is not in the video, but now with the new cumulative length displayed within the mobile app, the app not only shows the total length of your captured segments, but also includes the length of your proposed geometry. So the distance from your last vertex to the target location. So the real-time feedback is especially useful for tasks like tracking distances or measuring infrastructure, ensuring that you can capture the linear feature at the exact amount that you need, or measurement you need. So I can't showcase every new capability released this past year, but here's a slide that highlights all the key updates. What I want to highlight here is that in the February 2024 release, the first of the 3 major updates this year, we introduced the new info form element, along with several enhancements to map ordering and configuration. And in the June 2024 release, which is more focused on the key usability improvements in the FieldMaps Designer, Esri has also improved the performance and stability enhancements for both iOS and Android mobile devices. Exciting changes are coming to how we use ArcGIS to manage field tasks, including the introduction of the brand new task capability within FieldMaps. I'm not really allowed to spill all the details here in the session, but let's just say we're definitely excited about this. So I'm going to cover this more in the road ahead session later, so stay tuned.
Who's using Workforce currently? Who would use tasks when they come out? Oh, jeepers, awesome.
So now I'm going to move on to talk about Survey 123 and its new capabilities. To start with, a little bit introduction to Survey 123. Survey 123 is different from FieldMaps. It is more a comprehensive, form-centric solution for creating surveys, gathering responses, and analyzing results. It allows you to build surveys with features like skip logic, defaults, or even different languages support. Data can be collected using the web or mobile devices, even when offline, and it can be securely uploaded for analysis in web apps or other ArcGIS tools. Survey 123 is designed to handle the entire process, from survey creation to result analysis. So the first step is usually creating the surveys with either Survey 123 Connect or Survey 123 Web Designer. You can create location-aware smart forms to collect data about an event, person, structure, or anything else. And surveys can include text, audio, or images to guide respondents. And they can also capture input in the same formats. Secondly, we want to get answers. And to get answers, you can use either the Field app, mobile app, or the web app. Surveys can be completed once or multiple times by the respondents, who may be either by the public or users within your organization. And then, lastly, you can take action or analyze your results using web apps or websites. As responses come in, they are immediately available to the survey author via the Survey 123 website. And data can be visualized through charts for easy interpretation, exported as raw data for further analysis in other ArcGIS apps, or generated into formatted reports in PDFs or Word documents. The Survey 123 mobile app is your go-to solution for efficiently completing digital forms while in the field. It is perfect for single users, ideal for individuals working with multiple surveys on one device. You can easily switch between forms and complete them at your own pace. Or shared devices. So the app supports shared devices by allowing multiple users from your organization to log in and access the surveys they need. So this is perfect for teams that are rotating shifts or working across different locations. Field workers can also leverage the Survey 123 mobile app by completing the forms in an online or offline environment. So if you're in a location with poor connection or no connectivity, no problem, you can save your work in the outbox and submit it once you're back online. Field workers can also easily revisit and edit their single records if needed. This flexibility is invaluable for correcting data or updating information as situations can evolve in the field. So if you're conducting a survey that requires repeated entries as well, such as regular inspections or ongoing observations, you can quickly generate multiple records without needing to switch forms. So I'm going to talk about what's new in Survey 123 Web Designer. Switching over to the Web Designer, the Web Designer provides a user-friendly entry level for creating smart forms. It is ideal when you want to build Survey 123 forms in a user-friendly web environment. Many of the users have asked for a more efficient way to organize frequently used surveys. And Esri has introduced the Add to Favorites button. So now on each survey card, you will see an Add to Favorites button. And this allows survey creators to quickly assess the surveys they use most often. And there's also a My Favorites page in the My Surveys gallery. Some of the key features of the Web Designer include a drag and drop interface that makes the form creation intuitive, And you can also apply wizard-style conditions and calculations that help you design common survey behaviors without needing advanced technical skills. It also has a tight integration with the Survey 123 website, the whole Survey 123 website. So not just the form creation, but also the data management in one place. What's new? The Gen AI in the web designer. So this chatbot-like tool helps you design your surveys in minutes by walking you through the process. So you can ask something, and it will suggest you some questions, and you can also further refine it in this chatbot. So once you're happy with the draft, you can click Generate, and then the survey draft, design draft, will be transferred from the chatbot to the web designer for further refinement. A new feature in the latest release is also the location list question type. And this allows users to select a location from the pre-established list. For example, mobile workers can choose from suburbs or localities, and this location list pulls in from a Lin's Living Atlas feature layer. And it works just like the select one question type with the autocomplete and search capabilities. There is also a new report page. If you've used Survey 123, you might be familiar with the ability to create reports. And in this release, Esri has introduced the new reporting web page. And this makes generating reports more accessible and simplifies the process for users who don't need to access the full data tab in the Survey 123 web designer. So this page can be embedded into other ArcGIS apps, like ArcGIS dashboards or Experience Builder. And lastly, Esri has also added a new feature that many of the users have been asking, which is the ability to change the question type of an existing question in a published survey. For example, if you originally set a question as a single line text, you can now switch to an email or a website and more. You can also switch between other compatible question types, like changing a single select question to a drop-down question. Survey 123 comes in two versions. The one that I just showed you is the Survey 123 Web Designer, which is more user-friendly, using the drag and drop interface for quickly creating surveys. But there's also Survey 123 Connect. And this one is available from the Microsoft Store, and it provides more advanced features through a desktop application. So this version is ideal for you that need to modify or reuse survey designs, manage different versions of survey, or even incorporate complex functionality. Now I'm going to take a closer look at Smart Assistant in Survey 123 Connect to see how deep learning models can help you achieve better results. Starting with the first feature, Smart Attributes. This allows you to automatically extract information based on objects detected in an image. Object detection models can identify and outline detected items within the camera view using bounding boxes. For example, the model can automatically recognize and label objects like a keyboard, laptop, or mouse, which are then added directly into the form. And this saves a significant amount of time compared to manually entering these attributes within the Survey 123 form. Next, we have Smart Annotation. This feature enhances image annotation by automatically labeling object detected in the photos. Whether you capture a photo or upload one from your device, the detection results are seamlessly incorporated into the annotation canvas. So you can modify bounding boxes, adjust labels, or add additional annotations as needed. And for instance, you can choose to generate class names and bounding boxes after taking the photo. And we have them applied here in real time while capturing the image. Lastly, we've got some smart redaction examples, which is particularly useful for handling sensitive information. This feature uses object detection to automatically generate bounding boxes around target objects, such as faces, and apply the redaction effects to them, ensuring privacy. You can manually select the regions of the image for redaction before saving or submitting the survey, but with automatic redaction, the chosen objects can be obscured without the need for manual selection. And this is especially helpful when handling images that require privacy compliance. So if you have any questions around AI capabilities in Survey 123 and how they can benefit your workflows, feel free to reach out to Edward, who is our AI lead at Eagle. And here's the quick recap slide of the newest capabilities we've introduced. I know there's a lot to take in, so feel free to take a photo of this slide. So these updates are designed to improve your experience across the board with the new user experience, user interface, and reporting features that streamline your workflows and enhance usability. That wraps up Survey 123. Now I'm going to pass over to Ed to talk about QuickCapture.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Carol. So QuickCapture, I guess the late one to the party in terms of the Field Apps suite. We've seen a big adoption of it in New Zealand, and we had a few regional councils in particular who were integral to the early development of it when it went from being a beta product, a prototype product, to a full release application that a lot of you are using. So the key differentiation between QuickCapture and everything else that's been shown already is really its method of capturing information, which are big buttons and a really simple way to capture field observations. So this was originally created, and this is really important just to re-emphasize, it was created for those at-speed and rapid data collection workflows, of which they look a little bit something like this. So you're driving along either in a vehicle or you're maybe in a helicopter, and you're just needing to capture things as you see them. We had a really neat presentation from Fire and Emergency New Zealand on how they're using this for some of their wide area assessment workflows. But essentially being able to capture things as they're happening, and then also capturing the information over who's capturing them, both in the attributes, in terms of the created or edited field, but also being able to capture that location track of the user through the location sharing within it. And so it has got its roots in emergency response and public safety. I just wanted to take the chance to walk through a digital transformation story that involved QuickCapture before we get into the what's new and the specific tech bits that I'm sure you're all really keen and interested to hear about. So this use case comes actually from our friends in Portugal, nearly directly opposite us on the side of the globe. And so there was an event just like we have in New Zealand, a significant event that then kickstarts a whole lot of discussions. In this case, it was a severe fire in 2017. And there was an opportunity to pause, reflect, review on how they were approaching shared awareness and events. And of course, given that a lot of the operation was dependent on paper maps, you can make the logical leap on what some of the recommendations may well be. But this is a positive story in the sense that they are now using web maps, they're using dashboards to help provide that real-time component to what's happening out there on the fireground to help prioritise efforts out there. And the training barrier is relatively low with QuickCapture, of course, being a big button application. If you can teach them to sign in, or if you can teach them to install the app, sign in, it's really self-explanatory from there. So really that evolution from paper maps out in the fireground to having shared awareness using QuickCapture and a training package to support that. So let's go into the capabilities that are new and emerging of QuickCapture that have happened since we last saw you. There have been 4 separate releases of QuickCapture between when we were on stage last year up here during this tech session to where we are today. And some of the capabilities that are really key to QuickCapture that a lot of effort and attention has been put into, not necessarily new, but just ones to be reminded of, the fact that photos alongside the vector data, the point, line or polygon, are becoming some of the most important pieces of information captured with this app. So photos are a big part of this, whether it's a damage inspection or damage assessment, an asset inspection, just doing a documentation of construction progress. Maybe it's been some of the health and safety notings that have come in. QuickCapture really is an excellent way to replace what's otherwise a whole lot of photos sitting in a folder somewhere with photos that are writing directly to a feature service, being able to tap a button and capture a photograph at a point in time. But as you'll hear in a second, also what happens with the data that's stored alongside that photograph, how can it be leveraged wider? Videos I'll cover in a second too, but yeah, just recognising the photographs that you're capturing, really, really powerful output of this application. And so answering that question of do I have photos for a specific asset that's been called in, oriented imagery is a capability that came into QuickCapture, not in the last release, but fairly recently. And this created an option when you were authoring your QuickCapture projects to just switch on a setting that then added a whole lot of EXIF metadata to any photograph that was captured inside the mobile app. So things like heading, bearing, altitude. So then you have this viewshed that you can use to power oriented imagery workflows. So if you're in the audience, you have lots of folders of images that were captured on DSLRs, and you're wanting to somehow corroborate where was taken, or where each of those photographs were taken, and also what photographs are taken for an area of interest. The oriented imagery workflow inside QuickCapture is definitely something to take note of back to your organisations. So also being able to take photographs that can act as almost a pseudo street view for your organisation. We have so many photos that can be captured in a short amount of time and stitched together to create this. So this is why oriented imagery we think is really exciting. It was covered in the imagery section in plenary. But just something we wanted to re-emphasise here, given QuickCapture currently is the only field app that can support this capability and output. And one thing to note, a little bit difficult maybe to see at the back of the room on the slides here, but being able to look at a photograph that's been captured, understand where it was taken, what it's looking at, and then being able to have interactive markup between dropping a point on the map, in this case this lamppost, and being able to see on the image, because of all the EXIF metadata it's capturing in the background, where on that image that relates to, I think is very, very neat. So just something to keep in mind there. And because of all of this data it's capturing, the GeoAI capabilities based on the raw data that this tool's capturing are very, very interesting, particularly being able to look at distance, look at objects and detect objects at a certain distance and obscure them. There's a workflow that's currently being trialled at the moment, but also picking up the text and the images. So this isn't within QuickCapture itself, but if you're thinking about a really effective way to get going with GeoAI, QuickCapture is acting as a sensor to create a whole lot of data that can be trained and used for those workflows. If you're not into AI but you love videos, QuickCapture can do it too. And this was something that was released, so being able to take short duration videos up to 10 seconds. You can capture a lot in 10 seconds if you're onto it. But this is something that isn't a separate mode that you have to activate somewhere in the deep dark depths of the JSON of the project. This is a setting that you can turn on in the web app that sits alongside the mobile app. So being able to select between photographs and video is just as easy as a single switch. You can even enable the user to choose which one. And so the video is uploaded as an attachment. The storage is something that we've tested, and it doesn't overinflate your feature service. There's compression on the device, so you're not capturing gigabytes and gigabytes of data unintentionally, unless of course you give it out to your whole organization and then they start capturing rapidly. But do note that for Windows users, this capability is iOS and Android only. So then attribute data collection is something that's come a long way in QuickCapture. The fact that we don't just want to capture a point with maybe one or two fields filled out actively. So there's two means of performing enhanced attribute data collection with QuickCapture. The first is button user inputs. So this is when a user presses a button on the screen and then attributes are queued almost after pressing that button. So whether that's a drop down or selecting a specific option for what type of thing they've just pressed. So you can set up to 3 attributes, which is really neat. So there's these tap once dialogues, so I press a button and then maybe give me 3 quick options so I can do more enhanced field data collection with more I guess, context to what I've just taken a photograph of. There's also project user inputs, which are hard coding specific values that will then be captured against every feature that then is pressed there on within the project. And so you can reuse this specific value. It might be something like a call sign or an ID, or what were the weather conditions on the day, and you don't want someone to have to select it consistently time and time again. But then having that, as soon as they've selected it in the project, from there stamped against every record that comes through. So the weather was sunny, boom, 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 boom. Every record in your attribute table would then be stamped with that. So QuickCapture does have maps as part of it. It's really something that, depending on the device that you're joining from, whether it's a mobile device or a tablet, the map experience is slightly different. Maps were originally created within the QuickCapture app just to see where you'd pressed all those buttons and where the points on the map linked from. But maps are coming along in QuickCapture. Being able to select and turn on and off layers, although it sounds simple, wasn't something that was available until one of the more recent releases of QuickCapture, which I'll do a summary of all the changes that there's been at the end of this section. But really being able to review that data before you send it in, rather than realising you sat on your phone and maybe captured a few points you weren't meant to, is a really useful capability within this app. So with your project maps, whether you're going online or offline is dependent on what file formats or map format you'll use. Your base map is your first piece here. So if you've got an organisational base map, if you're connected online, you'll have access to that. Your web map with specific layers is another option for the map itself. But then offline, if you're needing to take QuickCapture offline for an extended period of time, definitely check out mobile map packages, vector tile packages, or tile packages. There's options there. These are all configured through the designer or the web app website pane. So we do sometimes have field workers who sit out in the wilderness for a fair while and they miss out on all the awesome updates you've made to your project inside QuickCapture. The project being the output of the web app that then the field worker downloads onto their device and then goes away and does all the awesome work. So the auto project updates was something brought through in the last 18 months to help that experience of making sure that when you are adding a new button or maybe configuring a new setting that's just come out in your projects, it's pushed automatically to the field workers when they're in coverage, so when they have internet access to receive that. And so the project updates, it's not a big brother setting, but it's just a way to enforce that the latest project is available up there. This is something that you turn on as a setting, so it's not automatic straight away, but there might be specific workflows where you're aware that your field workers are in coverage a lot of the time. So if that's a specific workflow or a specific context for where you're deploying QuickCapture, do consider the auto project function. So showing map after capture when it's not a critical workflow where you're trying to just capture as much information as possible. This is just another thing you can configure within your project to be able to help validate information that has been captured by your field workers before it even goes from the device into a feature service somewhere. So there's two workflows here. The map can be manually opened within a set time of the capture after an object or a feature's been dropped on the map, and then the map's automatically shown after capture. One of my last 2 points before I'll get into the what's new overview slide that you'll all get out and take your photo of, hopefully an oriented image if you really flash, is location sharing. So not just the ability to capture where you are or your last known point on where your photographs are coming from, but also being able to track your field worker. So this is built into ArcGIS QuickCapture, so you can understand where your people are at any given moment if they're in coverage, so being able to be connected up and syncing back. And this is something that you can configure within individual projects within the web app for your workers. So you can make location sharing optional, or you can force it in the sense that if someone's using the project, you've set it so they have to be tracked at the same time when they open it up. So one of the workflows that is quite exciting is the fact that QuickCapture can be quite flexible in its location positioning. It isn't just me, Ed, standing here that it can use as its location. If you're using some of the other applications within the ArcGIS system, such as ArcGIS Flight, SiteScan, to a lot of you, you can use the location of the drone itself as the sensor location that points are captured against. So I can be flying a drone, and rather taking the location of where the pilot is, even though you're opening up the mobile device as a spotter sitting alongside your pilot, hopefully, your CAA 101, 102 compliance coming into action there. You can use the location of the drone that's flying over there and been pressing the buttons from your device. So that could maybe get around some health and safety obstacles of maybe putting people into places they perhaps don't need to. So now let's get into the big slide that has all the what's new things on it since we last saw you at NZEUC last year. So it was a busy month, November and March. April, there was a little thing that we had to address with some of the map capabilities not displaying side by side nicely in a few select tablets. And then September, we had a few things added in that supported some of our workflows that are becoming more and more indoors. So a level ID variable. So based on what level you are in your map, if you've got multi-level story maps in your project, being able to capture against that specific level. Also, the website itself, Recycling Bin, is a capability to ArcGIS Online. The project user type, or the project item type that you generate when you create a QuickCapture project, that became a supported item within Recycling Bins. So you can delete what you need to and retrieve it within 14 days or what your organisation has set. I just want to go a little bit back in time though to November and March just to give you just that really good recap. So the arcade expressions for field calculations being supported, like a massive leap forward for a lot of you who are using arcade already. You saw Sarah from Auricon's presentation hopefully earlier on, which showed some of the arcade that she's using in her organisation. It's a really, really clever way to capture more precise and accurate information with additional attributes that just make it easier for the field worker. As I mentioned earlier, the map layers being turned on and off inside the field app. You know, it seems elementary, but it was something that wasn't quite there, as QuickCapture was built around more of a base map-centric workflow, but that's now in there as of November. In the website itself, oriented imagery layers was the big highlight, so being able to activate an existing QuickCapture or any new project with the ability to just turn on a setting to enable all those other EXIF metadata fields that then meant you could then capture-oriented imagery-ready photographs and data. In the website, going forward a little bit to March of this year, you'll note that there's a few more variables that QuickCapture's adding. So when you press a point, or you press a button in QuickCapture as a field user, there's ever-increasing amount of variables that can be captured against each of those button presses. So whether that's the photograph, the user, the device, other things. So it's just becoming a more and more comprehensive way of capturing a lot of information very, very quickly. So let's go into a little bit of a recap, a summarised version of that. So level of aware, data capture, arcade support being a big one, the date and time field types that came out in ArcGIS Online and shortly Enterprise, and those dynamic choice lists as well, making it easier for when you haven't baked your domains in and they're not 100% right, the chance to correct that. Enhancing the oriented imagery experience inside QuickCapture, as well as things like being able to reorder the display of the button user inputs rather than having them just locked into the project. And icons are something that inside QuickCapture we do get asked that a little bit. What's the quickest and easiest way to add icons into each of my buttons? Well, there's new icon libraries that they're loading in, the latest being the humanitarian icon category. That covers quite a lot of your go-to symbols very, very easily. So that's a little bit around QuickCapture itself. Not a hugely busy period for it in the last 3 months, but going back 12 months, there's a significant amount of capabilities in there for you to get excited about and trial in your organisations. So let's extend this out a little bit. Hey, Carol, shall we extend some workflows?
Yep. Yeah, next we will look at ways to extend your workflows by analyzing and reporting the field data that you collected. So in this section, we will explore some key options to help you gain deeper insight and share your findings effectively. Do you want to start with this one since you did a plenary demo?
Yeah, so as you're probably all aware, like Microsoft 365 and ArcGIS are working closer together. And the connector that was the Survey 123 specific connector, that's been superseded by this new broader reaching ArcGIS connector, which is, I think, quite exciting for a lot of workflows. Not being able to just capture information that sits in GIS, but using this whole suite to actually make it a lot more accessible to a whole lot of different users who may not know what GIS is, but they certainly know what data is. So that's one option there. Do keep in mind that with some of the reporting functions inside Survey 123, the print report, for example, there is still the ability to use that feature functionality. The web hooks setting inside the Survey 123 website that you're using to manage and share your data alongside the forms, that's still a method to enable that. Should we go into maybe something a bit more ArcGIS specific with the web apps?
Yep. There are several ways to visualize and edit your collected data on the web, depending on your needs. So there are map viewers, experience builder, instant apps, web editor, and dashboards. Map viewer, which most of you probably are already familiar with, it has an editor pane in the map viewer with a variety of editing tools for both attributes and geometry. So there are many use cases where sometimes we collect data incorrectly in the field, and this is how you can correct it within the web. And Experience Builder, yep, you can integrate editing capabilities in Experience Builder by using the Edit widget, allowing you to update attributes on both geometry and attributes. And we've got also instant apps. Not all templates, but some templates, like sidebar template and manager template, they allow you to do some editing processes with minimal setup time, making them ideal if you need a quick, easy to configure solution app. And Web Editor, which is a new one, a new app that is designed for more advanced editing capabilities, like in ArcGIS Pro. So Esri has developed Web Editor not to replace your other apps. So if you're familiar with the apps that you're using right now, feel free to still use it, but Web Editor is here to complement your editing processes by providing more specialized tools and more. Lastly, dashboards. Now with the new editing functionality within the dashboard, it lets you both visualize and also edit features in real time.
So I guess just hanging on to the slide for a little bit, the dashboard editing capability, like who's going to be, or who's already using it or looking to use it with some of their workflows? Awesome. I guess some of the tips and tricks that we can share is in the role that Carol and I have, we're quite often requested to quickly build end-to-end workflows to showcase at short notice. And so some of the things that we've been doing is using the AI assistant that's built into the web designer within Survey 123, not just to create a form, but create a schema that then can be used across all the different field apps. So think about ways that using some of these tools in tandem, you could actually create workflows very, very quickly that can then be refined and ground truthed by your users. So using that web designer, the GeoAI assisted or the AI assisted form creation mechanism, the ChatGPT equivalent, being able to put in a few things around what you want your form to say, that then spins up an example form that then you can click confirm. That spins up a feature service that then can, be used inside FieldMaps for specific purposes. It can be used inside. Also, QuickCapture is a really quick way to generate something that sits behind buttons. So there's a lot of ways that you can do things, of course, that you're all aware of inside the ArcGIS platform. It's not just one way to do things. There's probably 5 or 6 different ways that you can tandem things together. And so going through into reporting, one of the key features, of course, of Survey 123 being the ability to not just extract data, but also a custom PDF or Word format report. So these are generated based on templates, which are Microsoft Word based. So you can definitely copy and paste maybe an organizational template and use it very, very quickly inside the reporting function, as long as you've set up your different field entries against different things. So these templates, they're highly customizable based on your needs and what you need to input. So a great way to get started with report templates is by using a sample template that's provided off the box. This allows you to look at how the labels and the syntax works before then applying it to your own template. One of the most common methods to I guess take this reporting capability that's inside the Survey 123 website and chain it to other workflows is by using the likes of Power Automate or Make, both of which are drag and drop interfaces for creating a process that's triggered based on a new record being created very, very quickly. So shall we go into a bit of a recap before getting into a Q&A?
Yep. To recap, so let's quickly summarize the key capabilities available to enhance your field operations across these all different field apps. First, location sharing, which allows you and your teams to stay connected in real time. And then AI integrations within Survey 123 to streamline your workflows, such as automating data collection with smart annotations or intelligence responses. Next, we've got laser range finders, which offer precise distance measurements in the field, feeding accurate data directly into your app. Geofencing enables the creation of boundaries that trigger alerts for when field workers enter or exit specific areas. And with the high accuracy GPS data capture settings, you can also ensure the precision of your GIS data. And finally, the enhanced designers that you've seen throughout this session, which will give you more flexibility to customize your forms and workflows, making sure that your solution fits your needs. We get this question a lot, right, Ed?
Yep.
Which app should you choose for your field operations? So the first thing to consider is what your field team needs to accomplish. So if they need to view asset data and previous inspections on a map, FieldMaps is often the go-to solution. For situations where you need to fill out detailed multi-page health and safety forms, Survey 123 is usually the ideal choice, providing that customizable and structured form experience. And if your team needs to quickly record hazards after a disaster with just one touch, QuickCapture excels this, allowing for rapid data collection with minimal effort. So it really depends entirely on the task at hand. What do your field teams need to do? But what if your team needs to perform the following tasks shown in the screen, like asset inspections, recording locations, identifying species, or conducting a site inspection? In this case, you can use either FieldMaps or Survey 123, or even linking both of them together through an app integration. You can start by viewing or gathering information from a map using FieldMaps, getting a clear visual on the assets or the sites, and then if the tasks require a more complex form, you can seamlessly switch to a Survey 123 to do that, where you can fill out the detailed forms. And the best part is information can be passed between these two apps with ease. So basically, it doesn't matter which app you start with. The important thing is these tools are built with major capabilities for field data collection, and they all can integrate with each other. The main difference comes down to user experience, so pick the app that makes the most sense for your team and your workflows.
Cool. So to wrap up, there's lots of resources to help you on your journey here. The Field App user community is probably one of the most active on the forums that have been set up that are available to you as a user. But there are other things too. Documentation is a real strong point for Esri, I think, as a whole. A lot of the products, they keep the documentation pretty well up to date. You've got blogs that provide you that overview if you just want to get a quick update on what's happened in the last couple of months since the latest app of choice was selected. You've also got the Training Academy, so there's lots of options if you've got your MyEsri access enabled against your organisational user for training that you can do at your own time, self-paced, not to mention the courses that Eagle offer for optimising field operations and others. We've got the webinars too, which are always a useful mid-year update in between the RUCs and NZEUC. There's also plenty of tutorials available for each of the specific products that we've covered. So definitely take advantage of those to you as a user of this technology. What we're going to do now is, I think, launch over to a Q&A, so I'll hand it over back to Jess to facilitate.
Awesome. We've got a lot of questions. We've got a lot of questions coming, so thank you all for sending those in. And there should still be a QR code up there if you need to send any further questions in. But first up, we've got our most popular question I can see in there is, when a Power Automate scenario fails, how can we make Survey 123 to resend data for the failed record to rerun that scenario manually?
Shall we tag team this one? Jess is also on our support desk, so she's a really good facilitator for these sessions. So I'll start off. It is a tricky one. It isn't an easy one. Short of actually going in and resending the survey, you do have a couple of options you can look at. If it's still in the inbox or the outbox of the form, if it's been captured on a device, that's one option. But yeah, I guess since this is an external technology that's creating the problem, there's not too much that I can answer on top of that.
Can I help answering that question?
Yeah.
So I actually experienced this before. So if you submit data on Survey 123, the data will still be there once submitted, right? And if the Power Automate is triggered by a webhook, usually there's still a record in the Microsoft Power Automate that it fails there. And then there's an option that you can rerun that flow once you fix the Power Automate flow. So there's an option to manually rerun it if it fails.
Amazing. Thank you, Carol. Cool. I think that answers that one. So next up, in Arcade, can you pull 3 third-party data via API and offline maps? For example, can you get weather data automatically when a point is collected?
Yeah, for this question, I'd like actually for them to come up to the front afterwards, because there's a few other questions I'd ask about whether this is being captured when offline, what API information you're looking to pull via Arcade, because there's some options there. So it's not just a field app capability, it's more of a broader ArcGIS question, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, come up and have a chat afterwards, and we can get that finer details in that answer for you. Next up, is there a time frame for allowing multiple choice questions?
So in Survey 1 to 3, that's already available, but for field maps, we're not sure yet if there will be a plan that it will be available in the future. So we might need to ask Esri about that.
What I might add there is there's an ArcGIS Ideas page that's specific to this one. There's a post up at the moment, so if you really want this to happen, go and kudos those ideas, as that's what the team get as enhancement ideas to add to the app. So if that's something you want, go and kudos the ArcGIS ideas related to that specific one. Cool. Next up, is there a plan to add arcade expressions to default values so users can overwrite the calculation if required?
Yeah, that's something that I would use as well. If we could like override arcade expressions on field maps, or yeah. So the plan is we don't know about it yet. So I think we need to ask Esri about that as well. Yeah. But that's a really good enhancement that we need.
Yes, agreed. It would be fantastic. Okay. What is the best way for staff to edit data collected via field maps or Survey 123 on a laptop back in the office?
Yeah, so you've got the whole ArcGIS software suite available to you. It depends on who the user is, in my mind. Is it someone who has access to GIS? Could you even leverage the Excel demo that you saw in plenary to make it easier? Because it is just going back to editing records. If it's the geometry, you do have a few options there. The web editor is fast emerging as the best way to do it on the web. But if you want to get into ArcGIS Pro and do it, all of those are flexible options for it. So the short answer is heaps of options for that. What does your user need?
Exactly. Plenty of options out there, so lots of different ways you can look into doing that. Next up, can you collect points along tracking lines in field maps?
And so just to make sure I've got the right end of the stick, you're capturing a line and then you're capturing points at specific intervals. Is that the question?
I'm not sure who asked that one.
Are we able to get a microphone down there? Sorry, it's a bit far away up here.
Do we have a mic?
We do.
Amazing, thank you. Just over that way.
While the mic's travelling, we might do another question quickly.
Yes, I'll quickly ask that next one. Can you collect non-spatial data via related class without clicking on the spatial layer and have it just in the form? I would say no, in the sense of it's related to that spatial point.
Yeah.
That's what you're putting down to fill in the form data.
Unless you had something in the pop-up of a spatial record, but at the same time, it's not really answering the initial question, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the key is that it's a point data information there, so you'll be filling in the form related to that point. Do we have the mic down that way? Awesome.
Yeah, kia ora. So the scenario is my hunter that I sit next to right here, he wants to track his with a line feature class, but then when he kills an animal, he wants to record a point feature like you can do with QuickCapture. I'm wondering if that's possible in field maps.
Yeah, so I guess there's something happening already, which is a breadcrumb trail, as you know, with location sharing inside field maps. It's capturing a line and it's also dropping those breadcrumbs, but the user actively doing that isn't something that I'm aware of unless you're streaming the line inside the field app, the line capture, and chewing up all your battery, and then just dropping points where you need to. So we'll definitely take that to the product team, but really, really cool use case, so thanks for sharing.
Cool, thank you. Next one up is, can orientated imagery also be captured with field maps and Survey 123? Can previously captured imagery be orientated?
Yeah, good question. I love these. So as one of our demos, we were trying to, for plenary, we were trying to see whether we could spoof the EXIF metadata for the images, and it's quite difficult. So that can previously captured imagery be orientated? I would say no, but if you've got lots of time on your hands and you want to recreate where that image was, yeah, go for it. But yeah, that would take a bit of time. Whether oriented imagery can be captured with FieldMaps and Survey 123, and within FieldMaps, not currently, because there's not a setting to turn on to write that information in the attributes of what's being captured currently. And within FieldMaps, Survey 123, I don't want to commit to an answer here because I'd like to actually just have a look at the Survey 123 documentation first to see how far along that's come before committing to an answer for that question. So I don't know for Survey 123 FieldMaps, currently no.
Cool, thank you, Ed. Next up, can you trigger movement between FieldMaps and Survey 123 in offline operations?
So is this clicking pop-up and launching the application? If we've got the roaming mic, a little bit of elaboration. Oh, yeah. So yes, you can. It's a deep link. It's called a URL parameter that you put as a hyperlink, say in the pop-up of FieldMaps. So you'd launch that open, and you can also pass values across too. So yeah, you can do it that way, and also a related record if you're real flash and have those set up in the projects can achieve a similar aim. But no, awesome question.
Cool, thank you. Will you be able to train the Survey 123 AI attribute detection for it to identify specific objects?
Yes, but it's a lot of work. The Survey 123 projects themselves, they reference deep learning packages and libraries. So when you go into the settings of these, and definitely go back to your office and have a play with the samples, because it shows you underneath the hood how these things work. So if you've trained a model and you've deployed it to the appropriate place, you can reference it inside the project, but do have a chat to Edward, not Ed, Edward Wong at Eagle, because I think he could definitely help a little bit further with that conversation.
Yeah, thank you, great question. Next up, do all the field apps allow streaming for points, lines, and polygons?
For
Field
data
maps?
capture or location tracking?
That's a great question.
Question back at a question.
Yeah, I think as a brief answer, I believe ArcGIS FieldMaps definitely allows that. I'm not sure about the other two,
QuickCapture
though.
also. Yep.
Yeah.
Survey 123, not sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll hang up the front, but I'm just wary of this
Exactly.
flashing red number at us. We will look to answer these and get the FAQ back to you all who have attended this session as part of our wider conference pack. But yeah, back to you, Jess, to close us off.
Awesome. I just want to say a massive thank you all for spending your afternoon with us and asking all these brilliant questions, and a really big thanks to Ed and Carol, who have just done a fantastic job giving us all of these updates on the ArcGIS Field Apps. So thank you again for attending.